Hey Ross World, my money makes money. So you're making good money, you're doing all the things that we talked about, and you're on your way, you're successful. I love it. Okay. So now you're looking into buying a condo, buying a house, or you already bought a house. But let's back up a second here. For those who are looking to buy a house, so you think you are ready to buy a house. Okay. Okay. Let's have this discussion real quick. Hopefully this discussion don't go over 10 minutes. So you think you're ready to buy a house. All right. So hopefully you heard of the 43% debt to income ratio rule that the Federal Housing Administration used, FHA. They use that to actually approve loans so you can buy a house. They actually use that rule to see if you can afford to pay the mortgage. So you like saying, okay, what is all that? Well, all your debt, your mortgage, your home insurance, your home association fee, HOA fees, I know you heard of that, and your property tax. They tally all that up and that should not equal or surpass 43% of your debt to income ratio, meaning how much you make, right? So after it's all said and done, you should have no more than 43% of your income used. Okay, so I'm going to try to break this down so you further understand me. If you want to write this down, I'm going to go a little slow. Take, for instance, your monthly income is $4,000. Okay, so write $4,000 down. Then I want you to multiply that $4,000 by 0.43. So after you do the multiplication for that, for all your debt, including your housing mortgage, should be $1,720. And let's factor this in. You're saying, well, I'm close to that mark already, but I don't have any debt. So basically you're saying I'm not going to buy a new car or anything like that, because if you buy a new car or if you're already close to that 43%, you're really not going to have any wiggle room and you're going to bust your threshold and you're going to end up not being able to afford that payment. You're going to pretty much put yourself out in the cold. And the cool thing about it is we're talking about debt, we're talking about your home, we're talking about insurance, HOA fees, because when they factor in this, they're talking about all your debt, things they can find on your credit report, these loans that you have, right, that it doesn't really account for that 43%. Now, if you're already close to it, don't even think about buying a house or trying to get a loan, because I'm going to tell you this. What they do not factor in is how much do you spend for food a month? What are the activities are your kids in, or what are the activities are you in? Now, you can't do this if you're already close to using 43% of your income a month. You're already about to bust that threshold, and you should say, I don't want to surpass that, because you're going to put yourself out in the cold. Don't set yourself up for failure. I wouldn't even want to get close to that amount. And let's take, for instance, if you bought a home based upon that 43% debt to income ratio limit, then you still have to pay electricity, you still have to pay gas, you still have to pay water. You need some elbow room. You need some extra money. And if you're close to that, you're going to be hurting. And hopefully they don't even grant you the loan. And I'm only saying that because I don't want you to put yourself in a situation that you can't get your ass out of. Because during that recession, 2007, 2008, 2009 time frame, the banks were giving out fraudulent loans to people. When they looked over their finances, they were surpassing the threshold on this 43% rule. They wasn't living by this rule. And so a lot of good people who thought they could afford houses, who knew nothing about this debt to income ratio rule, was left in the cold and was homeless. And you probably say, okay, well, how do I get to that point where I'm ready to buy a home? Well, first and foremost, you kill your debt. You got credit card debt, you kill it. You have personal loan, kill it. If you're close to paying off your car loan, do it. You say, well, I'm close to paying off my car loan next year. If I use my tax return, I'll pay off my car loan. Well, sometimes we have to make sacrifices, because don't forget, I mentioned that when you buy a home, that's a good debt, because your home begins to build equity over time, and that's property, okay? But you don't want to buy bad property in the sense of eventually in a couple of years or a year, you're going to be out of that home because you don't have enough money to survive. Because when it really comes down to it, you need to eat, you need to drink water, you need electricity. If you don't have electricity and you have to choose between electricity and food, you'll probably pick both, and you may not end up paying a mortgage. Like, well, I can go back on my mortgage a little bit, and then maybe I can go back on my electricity. You see what I'm saying? You don't have any elbow room to do anything. Bills are topsy-turvy. You're getting late on this and late on that, and then guess what? You're back hurting on your credit. If you're not ready, you're not ready. It's okay to buy a house when you're 40. It's okay to buy a house when you're 50. It's okay. If you're not ready, you're not ready. Or the house you want may not be the house you can afford. Buy a house you can afford. You can afford a smaller house. You like, no, I want that 3,000 square foot house, 2 stories or 3 stories, or maybe it's a Texas style home where it's just 1 story and it's this huge, or rent style home, or whatever it may be. Or maybe it's a smaller home, 1,800 square feet, but it has all the amenities and upgrades and recessed lighting and crown molding and hardwood floors and heated towels, whatever it may be. But buy a house you can afford that doesn't break the bank, that doesn't come close to that 43% debt to income ratio rule, because you're going to be hurting on your mortgage payments, okay? Because they use that rule as a gauge so they can get their money. They don't use that rule as a gauge for you to eat, for you to have heat and air conditioning, for your kids to be part of activities, for you to go on trips, for you to buy healthy foods for the home. They don't care. They go by that so they can get their money. Understand that. So don't get close to that 43%. You say, okay. Some of you are saying, okay, I'm in good shape then. Okay, I'm good. Okay, I'm ready to buy a home. All right, if you're ready to buy a home, good. Then you should be ready to put down 20% of the price of the home. You're like, 20%? Why that much? Well, if you put down 20%, you avoid paying private mortgage insurance. Private mortgage insurance can cost an extra $50 to $100 per month on your mortgage, sometimes more and sometimes less. But putting down a smaller down payment really won't cost you your home or anything. That is just a good gauge that people use so you can avoid paying that private mortgage insurance. Also, just like a car, it brings down your mortgage payment so you pay less monthly. Because with an FHA loan, you can just put down 3.5%, which is adequate with them. But do understand this, most lenders in the market, if you don't put between 5 to 10% down on a home, they won't even offer you a loan. Because a lot of them say, well, how much are you going to put down? Now, I don't know any lender. If you say, well, I'm not going to put anything down, I don't know any lender who's going to accept that. You're going to have to put some money down. As I said before, FHA, they're the lowest, but most lenders take between 5 and 10%. So we pass all that jargon. You said, well, okay, when do I buy a home? Or when is the best season to buy a home? When you want to. People in the industry always say, when is it good to buy a home? A lot of people say buy a home in the off season in that particular area, those activities. So take, for instance, in Colorado during the winter, skiing is huge. So buy a home in the summer. Maybe it's the traffic, maybe it's the people, maybe the prices are better. Because when people travel to Colorado and they're loving the skiing, the property value of those homes go up because people want to buy these winter homes. But during the summer, the tourist attractions, they all leave. You get what I'm trying to say? Take, for instance, in Florida. When those tourists come in the summer, because Florida is absolutely gorgeous, the property value of their homes go up. But if you go in the winter, no one's going to Florida in the winter or hurricane season. So that's when you go to Florida and buy a home. There's some sort of science to this, and you can save anywhere from $5,000 to $30,000 depending on the neighborhood that you want to live in. Also, if you're thinking about going big and because you can afford a nice home, make sure you go inside this home with a 10-year plan that you can afford, because you don't want to get yourself stuck inside of a house because you can't sell it and that you can't afford. Now, if you're going inside of a home without a 10-year plan, you might want to get a much smaller home that you can probably settle for a price that you either paid for or probably a little bit less than what you actually bought it for. When you're buying a home, Ross World, the number one thing should be affordability. Okay, that's the number one thing. Can you afford this home based upon the information I gave you? You do not want to find yourself in a house that you cannot get out of, in a city that you can't leave, all because you made a bad decision and you did not have a 10-year plan, that you didn't plan to stay in that place at least 10 years. Okay, because who knows how long it's going to take you to sell that house. Because quite frankly, it took thousands of people years to get out of their homes, because at the time that the recession, there was a soft spot right there at 2008. As the recession was beginning to happen, people had sold their homes and made good money. As soon as it hit, people got stuck in their homes because their homes wasn't worth anything. So they had to stay in their homes, okay? That doesn't mean they didn't have a 10-year plan. The recession hit, but most of them stayed in their homes until the economy recovered and they can get at least what they paid for it or profit a little bit of money. Now, this is just something to think about, because I don't want you to get yourself in a financial situation that is going to take you years to get out of. So if you think you're ready to buy a home, understand the 43% debt to income ratio rule. Understand what you want to live, and understand and also research good communities, what you should be close to. Are you close to a fire department? That raises property value. A police department, okay? Playgrounds, activity centers. All these things matter. Are you in a cul-de-sac? Okay, is there a neighborhood watch? Is there a home association? All of these are huge factors in property value, in home buying, in price point. Whether you stay or whether you leave. Because quite frankly, think of your house as a home, but also think of your home as a business. This is Ross World. My money makes money. I'm out.